Game 2 of the American League Division Series is in the books. And once again, you know the results, and I don't, because you are in the future, and I am in the past.
You are Locked On MLB, your daily MLB podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, baseball fans, and welcome to Locked On MLB, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. This is the daily podcast. We talk about all of Major League Baseball. I am your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully. Follow us at Locked On MLB Pods on Twitter or whatever they're calling it these days, and on Instagram. And you can follow me. I'm your pal Sully, but I'm at Sully Baseball Podcast Instagram. But the best way to get a hold of us is right here on the YouTube page. And when you leave a comment, make sure to leave that hashtag Everyday Sully. It helps us figure out where everyone is. And that's what we do. Oh, just so you know, in case you're wondering, today's episode is brought to you by our good friends over at Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Let's go through the trivia question that I posted for the other day. What team was the first wild card to make the League Championship Series? Notice I said League Championship Series. I didn't say American League Championship Series or National League. I didn't want to give it away because I knew if I said it was the National League Championship Series, most of you would guess, as Jackson Van Hooser guessed, which would be the Florida Marlins. And yes, indeed, the Florida Marlins in 1997 were the first wild card team to make the World Series and to go on and win the World Series. And Cleveland fans do remember that. However, a team made it to the League Championship Series before said Marlins team. And Argonaut Comment, everyday Sully listener, said, trivia question, the 1996 Baltimore Orioles before the Jeffrey Meyer game. Or is it Jeffrey Mayer or Jeffrey Meyer? Someday I'll tell you my Jeffrey Mayer story. I had whichever. I'll figure out the correct pronunciation. I have a story about the kid who leaned over and caught what should have been a long drive caught by Tony Tarasco, instead became a Derek Jeter homer. Yes, that Baltimore Oriole team, led by Roberto Alomar, who had a huge home run in the division series over the heavily favored Cleveland Indians. The Indians were supposed to make mincemeat of the Baltimore Orioles, and then suddenly the bats for the Orioles really exploded. And in the end, Cleveland lost, and kind of a startling upset. And back then, how they handled the division series was really weird. The first two games were played at the home of the lower seed. Do you understand what I'm saying? That it would be, and actually it didn't even matter. It was like you're the wild card team. So the first two games were played in the wild card team's home. And the next three games will be played in the home of the division winner, the higher seeded team. And I guess they felt they couldn't have a travel day between games 4 and 5, but that meant there were all sort of situations like Baltimore's a wild card team, Cleveland's the best team in the American League, and Baltimore has home field advantage in games 1 and 2. Same thing happened the next year when Florida had the home field advantage in games 1 and 2 against San Francisco and won 2 walk-off games. And I think after that they said, what the hell are we doing? This is insane. It took a few years to work the kinks out. But yes, you got it correct. It was the Baltimore Orioles of 1996. Now, I'm recording this a few hours, about 2.5 hours before the first pitch of the New York Yankees and the Toronto Blue Jays game. Now, we had game 1 of the division series was yesterday. And the Yankees lost. They got clobbered by the Toronto Blue Jays 10-1. And the Mariners lost what must have been for them a gut-wrenching game, 3-2 in extra innings to the Detroit Tigers. And because it was the 11th inning, you know that the 9th inning and the 10th inning, every pitch that Will Vest threw against the Seattle Mariners, if one of them clocked it out of the ballpark, the Mariners would have won the game. Every time the ball left Vest's fingers, the game was on the line. The game was on the line. And alas, he worked through those, and the Tigers pushed across a run, and the Mariners lost game 1. The Tigers, who have dusted themselves off from that collapse down the stretch, and are now really, really in a great shape to maybe see themselves in the league championship series, which is why I cannot state this enough. You cannot create narratives going into the playoffs saying, well, they have a lot of momentum going into the playoffs. They're going to just win a bunch of games. Or, oh, they're really slowing down. They stumbled into the playoffs. They're not going to do well. They played badly down the stretch. You hit reset, and no team stumbled and bumbled, with the exception, okay, the Mets stumbled and bumbled worse than anybody because they stumbled totally out of the playoffs. But remember, the Tigers were up by like, what was it, 9.5 games with 20 games to play or something insane like that? And then they wound up falling behind Cleveland and finishing behind them, and all the momentum was Cleveland way. And Detroit looked like they were, oh, I can't believe we're a wild card team. Well, they dust themselves off, played a really, really tough series with Cleveland in those 3 games, and boom, they are now in a fabulous position. Now, both the Yankees and the Tigers are down 0-1, but not all 0-1 deficits are made the same. The Yankees got their lunch handed to them by Toronto. And some people out there think that maybe we're not being respectful enough of Toronto winning the division and beating the Yankees and everything like that in the regular season. Brian Bailey-eyed Tech, if I mispronounce that, forgive me, commented, LOL, these American commentators. That's right. I'm Uncle Sam. I want you to subscribe to Locked On MLB. These American commentators don't have a clue about the Blue Jays. No, not even. I don't even know where they are. They're in Montreal, right? We creamed the Yankees like we have all season. The Yankees are heading for a quick exit. I decided to read that with my Monster Mash voice. Yeah, they creamed them yesterday, and they won the season series. Now the Yankees won the last series played between Toronto and New York at Yankee Stadium early this year, and the pitching matchup was 100% in the favor of Toronto. Goswin's their best pitcher. Heel is not the Yankees' best pitcher. The best pitcher the Yankees have is going up tonight, or going up this afternoon. Now, does that mean that the Blue Jays can't beat him? Of course it doesn't. Max Fried is a wonderful pitcher and has proven to be a postseason pitcher as he won the clincher of the World Series back in 2021. The Blue Jays have the Yankees number, but the most recent matchups, not only did it favor the Yankees, but also you're not going to have Bo Bichette on the team, and you're not going to have Bassett on the team. You're not going to have Scherzer either, but I'm not even sure that's a bad thing at this point. No offense, Max Scherzer belongs in the Hall of Fame. So if the Yankees win today, and they do have the favorable pitching matchup at this time, then the Yankees would have done exactly what you would want them to do, which was go to Toronto, win 1 of 2, and get home field advantage. Savage has pitched only a few more games in the major leagues than I have, and Max Fried is one of the best pitchers in the American League. Now, that doesn't mean this is an automatic gimme for the Yankees. A couple of things have to come in play here. The Blue Jays bullpen is better. That's true, or at least more reliable. The Yankees, over the last few years, tend to not play well against pitchers they're unfamiliar with. Also, oddly, Giancarlo Stanton hasn't shown up yet. Now, Aaron Judge hasn't had the big, massive home run, but he's getting a lot of hits. He's actually his average, his on base for this postseason has been really good, even if he hasn't had bomb after bomb. But Stanton has been the guy over the years who's been their go-to person in the postseason, and he is a no-show right now. So I think things are going to line up pretty well for the Yankees, but it's not an absolute gimme. So we're going to have to see if Stanton shows up and Fried pitches the way he can, then the Yankees will have essentially done exactly what they're supposed to do. But we'll see. But guess what? There's another game that we're going to have to preview. And it's interesting because the results will be the final part of the show. But there's another game going on, and that team in an 0-1 situation This is really scary. And you know what? I'm not feeling that great. Most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's 401ks, properties, or investments. When you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That's why there's Monarch Money. It's the all in one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy to use interface on your laptop or on your phone. Monarch is built for people with busy lives. You can put off organizing your finances. Monarch is for you. Monarch does the heavy lifting for you. You can link all your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, and get smart categorizations of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without touching a spreadsheet. You want to maximize your investments, you want to increase your savings rate, and you want to easily view your finances with your partner, your financial advisor. This is why you need Monarch Money. It helps you keep a clear view of your financial health week to week or long term. Don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code LOCKEDONMLB. That's monarchmoney.com. I talked about this in last night's show and quickly just covered it again. The Mariners are in huge trouble right now. Now, the game hasn't been played yet, and we'll review the games in just a couple of minutes. But if you're a Mariner fan, and I have a huge soft spot in my heart for the Mariners, this is a huge punch to the mouth. To be the division champion, to have the home field advantage, to be playing the wild card team, and knowing you're going to have to face Tarek Skubal in game 2. There is a much larger than zero chance that the Mariners will be down 0-2 heading back to Detroit. Now, teams have come back 0-2, losing the first 2 games at home. I'm looking at you, 2001 Oakland A's. But that's not the position you want to be in. Absolutely. Especially if you know that they have the opportunity to pitch Skubal again. So this is a moment. This is the big gut check game right now. If Seattle wins this, then my pick of them winning the American League pennant is intact, in my very humble opinion. But there's another thing worth bringing up, and that is the fact that I've been saying this all year. Trying to pick the American League champion during this year is a fool's errand. We've all known that the difference between having home field advantage throughout the American League playoffs and being on the outside looking into the playoffs is just a handful of games. And so I've been saying this all year. Picking the American League champion is just basically who's going to have the best couple of weeks. It's not really a referendum of who's the best team in the league all year. It's just, all right, who had a couple of decent weeks in October? And that's what it's going to wind up being. There's a couple of points during the year it looked absolutely like Detroit was going to be the last team standing. Around that same time, it looked like Houston was going to be the last team standing, and they played golf during the playoffs, during an expanded playoffs. Boston looked really great until, they were the one team I didn't think really had a shot unless they rode their ace, Crochet, the way the Dodgers rode their ace in 1988 with Oral Hershiser. But it was actually easier to win a World Series back then because there were only 2 rounds. So, look, all of these series could be turned upside down today. Max Fried could throw a masterpiece, and then the Yankees did exactly what they were supposed to do and didn't have to use Bednar and everyone in game 1. Or the Blue Jays can counterpunch and wind up holding the game close until the late innings, and then they score against Jeff Weaver, might as well be Jeff Weaver at this point. And, it's Luke Weaver, but he's pitching like Jeff Weaver against the Marlins in 2003. By the way, Jeff Weaver became a big World Series hero in 2006, so maybe I shouldn't pick on him. The Yankees could split it. The Blue Jays could take control. The Mariners could stun everybody because there have been instances of can't miss pitching matchups falling apart, or the Tigers can take control. I don't know. Neither do you. I got to find out. Let's find out right now. Wow. The Yankee Blue Jay game just ended. And I ran through on that segment you just heard a lot of the possibilities that could have, and maybe should have happened. Do you know what's not on my bingo card? I'll tell you what wasn't on my bingo card. Trey Savage in his fourth major league start, no-hitting the Yankees into the sixth inning. And in fact, he still hasn't let up a hit. They relieved him. But at that point, I think it was 12-0 at that point. It was horrific if you're a Yankee fan. It was glorious if you were a Blue Jay fan. And it was darn right surreal if you're a Yankee hater. As Max Fried was awful. I mean, he wasn't like, oh, let's stick close to him. That's where I thought the Savage start would be okay. Stay close to the fifth or sixth innings and hope you get Fried out of the game. If you had told me that one pitcher was going to get knocked out in the fourth and then another one was having a no-hitter into the sixth, I would have said, yeah, it makes all the sense of the world that Fried would be dominant and Savage would be clobbered. They Freaky Friday'd. And, it was, Varsho got 4 hits, a couple of home runs. You had the grand slam by Guerrero, but it was just immediately, it was like they jumped at 2-0. Next thing it was 5-0. Next thing it was 9-0. Then it was 10-0 or 11, whatever the hell it was. It just kept going and going. And then they lifted Trey Savage. Now, I have said that you relieve a pitcher when he needs relief. He was dominating. He was showing no signs of giving up. I'm also not a big believer. The guy's throwing the masterpiece no-hitter. Why don't you let him finish the sixth? Now, as it turned out, the Blue Jay bullpen was horrible. It was grotesque in the middle innings. Now, we all saw that the Blue Jays bullpen down the stretch was not very good. Hoffman pitched well. Seranthony Dominguez did well, but everyone else, the clown car that were Blue Jay relievers, did not play very well at all. Thank you very much. And they showed why, because between the sixth and seventh inning, they let the Yankees score 7 runs. Now, they never got the tying run to the on-deck circle. So in one sense, it doesn't matter. And Savage started the year in single-A ball. He has never thrown this many pitches. And while I think we have to start developing pitchers to be able to go deeper into games, I can understand them saying, hey, look, he's already done 50,000 times what we thought we were going to get out of him. And the lead is so gigantic. What's the worst the Yankees could do? They could score 7 runs and still not even sniff the tying run at the plate. So intellectually, I understand, but it was also like, to me, it was, why don't you try to at least get 6 innings out of this kid? And then you have Seranthony pitching the 8th, Hoffman pitching the 9th, and you have the clown car going the 7th. But as it turned out, in the end, it didn't matter because the playoffs are binary. And Savage can pitch later, and the Blue Jays are up 2-0. And the biggest thing going against them was they had to face the Yankees ace while they were throwing a kid who had only 3 more major league starts than me. And the thing I did say was the Yankees have issues against pitchers they haven't seen before. Well, guess what? We found that out. And these 2 games, yes, the Yankees pounded the Blue Jays middle relief, but at that point it was already 13-1 or whatever it was. So my mom would say it was a lot to not enough. And if you're a Yankee fan, this has to be absolutely devastating. Now, they did fall 2-0 in 2017 and came back and beat Cleveland. And Cleveland was a much better team than the Yankees that year. But that was different. Something doesn't feel right for the Yankees. Something has gone off the rails. Now, there's going to be a rest day. Rodon has pitched well. We're not sure what Shane Bieber's going to do. I just don't see the Blue Jays losing 3 games in a row at this point. And the fact of the matter is everything's binary. They won. They're up 2-0. It doesn't matter if it was 13-0, 13-7, or 13-12. You won. And they got to win 1 more. And this was unbelievable. And I'm going to do it my Who Owns October. I mean, who am I going to give the half woo to on this? I can't give it to Fried, who wet the bed. in his biggest game as a Yankee. It's hard to give it to Will Warren. Will Warren gave the Yankees innings. He did. They didn't have to go to anybody. So their bullpen is going to be completely fresh. They're going to have like the Bednars and everyone in the world are going to have 4 days of rest going into the game in Toronto. But is lots of rest good for the bullpen? I mean, the one positive thing that happened with the parade of relievers that the Blue Jays brought is everyone got a little bit of work. Everyone got their butterflies out. And now they're going to go to New York. Rodon's a good pitcher, and he gutted out the win the other day, or he didn't get the credit with the decision, but he gutted out the performance the other day against Boston. But the Yankees didn't have to face any hitters like this when they faced Boston. I mean, this lineup, especially if Vladimir Guerrero and Varsho and everyone are like, all right, yeah, we're back. This is I didn't expect this. And even though the Yankees did score a bunch of runs later, it didn't matter. It didn't matter because in the end, it's binary. And in the end, the Yankees just had their lunch stolen from them. So I guess, I don't know. I guess Luis Castillo's going to throw a no-hitter for the Marlins now, or for the Mariners now, because nothing in the world really seems to make sense. There's nothing like catching a baseball game live. The energy, the crowd, the chance to see the Blue Jays middle relief. But actually getting tickets, that's the tough part. You got the log lines, surprise fees. It takes the fun out of it. That's why I use Game Time. It's the app that gives the advantage back to the fan. Game Time is fast, easy, and backed by the Game Time guarantee. You'll always get 100% authentic tickets delivered on time at the best price. Plus, all fees are included, so the price you see is the price that you pay. And the app makes it all super simple. You can even see the exact view from your seat before buying, and all fees are included. You know the total up front, no surprise fees at the checkout. You got the zone deals. I know where I like to sit at the stadium, especially when I go to Dodger Stadium. I don't like to sit in the upper deck or the lower deck. I like to sit in the middle deck and a little bit up the first base line. You got a great view of the field and also a great view of Chavez Ravine. I show the zone, they get the seats, and I save big. And you know what? It's faster, it's cheaper, it's less stressful than any other way I've ever bought tickets. So download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time today. All right, it's official. Nothing makes sense. Nothing makes sense. You know what? I'm going to post my picks before the start of the game on Instagram at Sully Baseball Podcast. And my advice to you is liquidate. Go to Monarch Money, liquidate all your money, and then go to FanDuel. And whatever I said is going to happen, put all that money on the opposite of what I just said. Think about my thoughts going to this game. The Yankees, well, they got their lunch money stolen from them in game one, but it doesn't matter because they got Max Fried against a young pitcher, and they're going to win that game. And the Mariners' season was over because they lost a heartbreaker in extra innings, and now they have to face Tarek Skubal. And look what happened. Now, Skubal pitched very well, thank you very much. He did. He pitched a terrific ball game. He made basically 2 damn mistakes the whole game. He let up a pair of home runs to Polanco. And the 2 home runs to Polanco were no doubters. And now Torkelson tied the game in the 8th, of course. And then Raleigh and Julio Rodriguez wound up, going back-to-back doubles. Polanco got another hit. Was lifted for a pinch runner, which I thought was weird. It's like the guy's having the offensive game of his life, and you lift him. But you know what? Here's the deal. Dan Wilson, the manager of Seattle, made a bunch of moves that made me go, wait, what? Like Luis Castillo is pitching. He's allowed 1 hit through the 5th inning and is matching Skubal inning for inning, actually has the lead. Now, I know the night before Wilson got cooked for not bringing Spyron when he could have, and he did tonight. But it also made me think the guy's not exactly getting lit up here. Are we really going to start the bullpen going in the fifth inning? But here's the deal. In terms of some of the decisions, I don't know what Wilson was necessarily thinking. It's binary. He made decisions, and at the end of the game, the Seattle Mariners won a game where Tarek Skubal was starting and pitched quite well. Thank you very much. So therefore, by that logic, by this all being about results, I can't question anything he did because the recipe that he put together. If I said, "Oh, I think you used too many chives. I think you need to put in more garlic." No, what he made, the recipe of what Dan Wilson made as the manager of the Seattle Mariners was they won the game they desperately needed to win. If they were down 0-2 going to Detroit, I give them virtually no chance. And they stared down Skubal. And when Skubal left, Skubal was on the hook because the combination of pitchers that he used going into the eighth inning had 0 runs from Detroit. Now, Detroit rallied, but then the stars came out. Polanco had the game of his life. Raleigh didn't hit the home run, but he hit the key double when he did. And Julio Rodriguez, who is absolutely cleaning up this series, came through with the hit that he did. So I have no complaints of anything he did because of the results. If the final score was 10-9 and he made all sorts of weird decisions, but they won because of a bottom of the 17th balk, then I can't complain about anything or I can't criticize everything he said because at this point of the year, it's binary. Did you win or did you lose? Yeah, but the way you lost, oh, but the way we won wasn't the best. Yeah. Did you win? Yes, then it was good. Did you lose? Yes, then it didn't work. So now the series is tied. The series is tied, and it's so far been an absolute thriller. You've had an extra inning game, then you had a game where both teams exchanged eighth inning rallies, and so there you go. So we're gonna have Los Angeles and the Philadelphia Phillies tomorrow. We have the Cubbies and the Brewers. And here's the deal. I think the Phillies are going to bounce back. I think they're too good a team. I think they're going to bounce back and win. And I think the Milwaukee Brewers are just going to manhandle the Chicago Cubs. Ergo, go to Monarch Money, liquidate all your money, and then go to FanDuel, and then guess what? Clean up on the Cubs and the Dodgers because, say it with me, folks, nothing makes sense. By the way, thanks so much for making Locked On MLB your first listen. For your second listen, catch the all-new Locked On MLB Game Night. Now, we are going to be going all postseason until World Series champ is crowned. Get local analysis on a national scale. Find MLB Game Night here on the Locked On MLB feed on YouTube, wherever you listen to your podcasts. It's going to take us to the trivia question. With the Mariners just 2 wins away for the League Championship Series, let's rewind back to the first League Championship Series they ever played. And the trivia question. What rookie gave the Mariners 7 surprising innings to win Game 1 of the 1995 ALCS? The Mariners burned through all their pitching, including bringing Randy Johnson out of the bullpen. And they were forced to use a rookie pitcher without a lot of experience to face Cleveland. And that rookie pitcher pitched 7 innings and got the win in the Game 1 of the 1995 American League Championship Series. What was the name of that rookie? Put the answer down here in the trivia question, and we'll answer it tomorrow when more of my predictions turn out to be wrong. Talking about, Max Fried not showing up, the Blue Jays bats going bananas, and Tarek Skubal letting up 2 key home runs, and the Seattle Mariners staying alive. This has been Locked On MLB. I'm your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully.